Mr. Speaker, the truth is these are no longer the Tories your parents voted for, and the public can see it.
Is this a party that you recognise as a former chair of the Conservatives?
I don't think it's definitely not a party that I recognise, but it's not a party that so many of my colleagues recognise.
OK, the Tory party has changed, but the seeds of their destruction were always baked into their success from Thatcher onwards. She gave the green light to individual success above the needs of community, so against the group and the collective needs of people in general.
But the power I took was the power to reduce the power of government, to reduce the taxation, to reduce the ownership of government. In other words, to limit the powers of government, not to enlarge them.
Also, she could claim it was the state that was holding back individuals from succeeding.
Colleagues on the phone over the last 48 hours just despairing. I had an very senior ex-cabinet colleague saying, they're just jokers. This is how bad it's now become. It's almost like we're watching a car crash in slow motion, and however hard we try and say stop, don't do this, it carries on happening.
Because we have a Tory party filled with extremely wealthy individuals whose aim is to look after themselves. They're stoking division to distract while they raid the public purse. It's Thatcherism taken to extremes.
And of course it's bad for the party, Carol. I'm not going to deny that. And of course it concerns me that we are heading into a general election where we could effectively be wiped out for a generation. But what disturbs me more is the fact that this kind of divisive far-right conspiratorial rhetoric is now in the mainstream.
OK, so Tory policies and ideology of self over community have driven a wealth gap, making a vast difference between the rich and the poor. Inequality is one of the drivers of hate, but also we have newspapers and TV channels owned by millionaires and billionaires who want to keep us at each other's throats. Again, stoking division to distract us while they plunder and steal.
And this has real life consequences. If you look at the reports, if you look at the Home Office's latest data on religious hate crime, over 40% of it is targeted at British Muslims.
Unfortunately, inequality drives racism as fear turns to hate. That hate then is directed to the other. People with different beliefs or darker skin colour.
And if you look at the report that came out last week, since the last 3 or 4 months, there's been a 330% rise in anti-Muslim hate crime.
Ultimately, what's happening now is really just a natural progression from what started decades ago. Click here for a video about Thatcher and responsibilisation.